6 seconds. That's all it took. Not 6 minutes, not even 60 seconds. 6. A recruiter opened a resume, looked at it, and rejected it almost immediately. Now, before you say, well, it must have been terrible, it wasn't. No spelling disasters, no bright pink fonts, no obvious mistakes. In fact, most job seekers would probably look at this resume and think it was perfectly fine. And that's exactly why this case is so interesting. Because if a decent-looking resume can be rejected in 6 seconds, what are recruiters actually looking at? Today, we're running another career autopsy. We're going to examine what happened during those 6 seconds, what the recruiter saw, what they didn't see, and why one small detail can determine whether your application moves forward or disappears forever. And if you've ever wondered why you're qualified but still not getting interviews, pay very close attention, because this might explain more than you think. The moment everything changed. Let's start with the candidate. We'll call her Sarah. 5 years of experience, solid employment history, relevant skills, no major career gaps, no obvious red flags. On paper, Sarah seemed competitive. So when she told me she wasn't getting interviews, she assumed the problem was the job market. And honestly, most people would make the same assumption. But then something interesting happened. A recruiter reviewed her CV while we timed the process. And 6 seconds later, the recruiter moved on. No interview, no shortlist, no second look. 6 seconds. Now here's the part that surprises most people. The recruiter didn't read the resume. At least, not in the way most job seekers imagine. Because recruiters rarely start by reading. They start by scanning. And that's where the autopsy begins. What recruiters actually see first. Imagine you're a recruiter. You have one role, 300 applications, a deadline, and an inbox that keeps filling up. You don't have time to carefully study every resume. You can't. So your brain starts looking for shortcuts, evidence, signals, reasons to continue, or reasons to stop. And Sarah's resume triggered a problem almost immediately. Not because of what it said, because of what it failed to communicate. Within the first few seconds, the recruiter was trying to answer one question. What role is this person actually targeting? And the answer wasn't obvious. The headline was generic. The profile summary was broad. The experience section listed responsibilities. But there was no immediate positioning, no clear signal, no obvious story. The recruiter wasn't confused because Sarah lacked experience. The recruiter was confused because the resume lacked direction. And confusion is expensive. When recruiters have hundreds of candidates, confusion usually means rejection. The 6-second test. Here's a challenge. Imagine your resume is displayed on a screen for 6 seconds. That's it. No scrolling, no second chances. What would somebody immediately notice? Think about that for a second. Because most people believe recruiters are reading every word. They're not. They're looking for clues. The first things recruiters typically notice are job titles, recent experience, career progression, industry relevance, achievements, keywords. Notice what's missing. They're not reading paragraph 3. They're not studying every bullet point. They're not admiring how long it took you to write your professional summary. They're searching for evidence that you belong in the conversation. Fast. And Sarah's resume wasn't providing that evidence quickly enough. The real reason the resume failed. Now let's get to the most important discovery. The issue wasn't formatting. The issue wasn't ATS. The issue wasn't that Sarah lacked qualifications. The issue was that the resume answered the wrong question. Most job seekers build resumes around this idea. Let me show employers everything I've done. But recruiters aren't asking, what have you done? They're asking, why are you relevant to this role? Those are completely different questions. Sarah's resume explained her history. It didn't explain her value. And that's a distinction that changes everything. Because relevance beats information. Every time. The hidden mistake most people make. Here's where this becomes uncomfortable. A lot of resumes are built like biographies. They tell the story of someone's career. And while that sounds logical, hiring isn't about understanding your entire life story. Hiring is about solving a problem. An employer has a vacancy. They have a need. They have a risk. Your resume's job is to make them believe you reduce that risk. That's it. When recruiters open a resume, they're not looking for the most impressive person. They're looking for the easiest person to understand, the clearest match, the safest decision. And if your value takes too long to identify, the opportunity often disappears before you've had a chance to make your case. What changed? So what happened when Sarah's resume was rewritten? Interestingly, we didn't add new qualifications. We didn't invent experience. We didn't perform some secret ATS trick. We simply changed the positioning. The top of the resume immediately communicated the target role. Achievements became visible. Results became visible. Relevant experience became easier to find. The recruiter no longer had to figure out why Sarah was qualified. The answer was obvious. And that's the goal. Because the best resumes don't force recruiters to connect the dots. They connect the dots for them. The challenge. I want you to try something after this video. Open your resume. Then step away from it for a few minutes. Come back. Give yourself 6 seconds and ask, if I knew nothing about this person, would I immediately understand why they're a strong candidate? Be honest. Because sometimes the biggest problems aren't hidden deep inside a CV. Sometimes they're sitting right at the top. If you've ever applied for jobs and felt completely invisible, comment the word invisible. I'm curious how many people are experiencing the same thing. The conclusion. The lesson from this autopsy isn't that recruiters are unfair. It's that recruiters are busy. And busy people make fast decisions. Sarah's resume wasn't rejected because she lacked potential. It was rejected because her value wasn't immediately visible. And that's a problem many qualified professionals face without ever realizing it. In our next career autopsy, we're going to investigate something even more surprising. A candidate looked qualified on paper. They had experience. They had skills. They had a decent resume. But there was one hidden mistake making them appear less qualified than they actually were. And chances are you've seen this mistake before. If you'd like a quick way to identify common CV problems and improve your positioning today, grab the free guide linked below. The 15-minute CV fix. And if you're enjoying these career autopsies, subscribe and join us. Because here, we don't just talk about resumes. We reverse engineer why careers succeed or fail.